Hello, Carm. How are you doing? Hey, you just asked a question recently in a thread. Show us an album that the first song on the album is nothing like the rest of the songs on the album. And I went through my collection, and the first one that came to mind was, Focus. And then Gary and I had one of our synchronistic moments again, and of course he showed that, so I thought of another one. And this one here is an all-time classic. I like it even better than Focus, although Focus, the music from Focus is just fantastic. Love it, love it. When I first heard that Focus album, it was Hocus Pocus, and it was on AM radio, and it was such a standout, unique song, kind of a crazy, zany, with his yodeling on there, but it just struck my curiosity, and I had to go out and see what this group was about, thinking maybe the rest of their stuff is this novelty type of oddball, quirky stuff, but it turned out that it was very cool, kind of a jazz progressive fusion, and I actually liked it even better. And after a while, the Hocus Pocus kind of waned in my interest, and I, grabbed up more of their albums, and, I think their Focus 3 and Hamburger Concerto could possibly be my favorites by them. I've got most of their stuff, and, just recently in a vinyl finds from, I think, last summer or fall, I had found their Mother Focus, which I had bypassed in the racks many a time, because I had heard negative reviews on it, or, lackluster, pass it over. But, I thought, well, this could be my last chance. So, and it was in good shape, so I grabbed it up, got it home, and it really surprised me. I really liked it a lot. So, yeah, Focus is a great group. But this other group I thought of, man, they will probably be considered by most progressive fans higher echelon of virtuosity. Just a classic group, very early progressive. I think they formed January 13th of 69. Let me see here. Or was it February? Nope, January 13th of 69. At a basement of the Fulham Palace Cafe in London. Yeah, and their debut, this is their debut, it was released October 1969. So that might give you a hint as to what it is here, but wow. Yeah, I first heard their album back in, I think it was 85, November. I think the first part of November, KCFX, the Fox, up near Harrisonville, Missouri, 101.1, the Fox, they went on the air. And before the station went on the air, they were already broadcasting, and you could hear the hammering and the saws and the carpenters working. Setting up the new radio station studio there, and then they finally went on the air. And what they had was, I think, a certain night of the week, perhaps it was Tuesday night, if I'm thinking correctly, they had a album hour where they devoted to commercial-free one whole side of an album. Then they had a very brief break, one or two commercials, and then the radio host, he would come back on and talk about the group, and give a little bit of their bio and history, information about that particular album, and then they'd go into side two. And that's a show where I was introduced to this group here. I'm sure I had heard them before, but I didn't hear the DJ give a name, so just kind of, out of my memory. But I was just totally blown away, and it was one of those very atmospheric nights, kind of, November. Everything's starting to die off, chilly, cool, wet mist in the air. You know, the leaves have all fallen off the trees now. And perfect night for this type of music. And turned out to be the classic, yes, I'm sure you've heard of this album here, King Crimson, In the Court of the Crimson King. My all-time favorite album by them. This just edges out all the rest of their, you know, output. Just stellar, and I love that artwork. And then you got a really great gatefold cover here. Yeah, they played the album that night, and it started out with a just a intense, edgy blast. Just kind of an intense blast, just blaring in your face, no holds barred, just screaming. And it was 21st Century Schizoid, man. I thought, holy crap, what the heck is that? And then after that song, it all quieted down, very tranquil, almost just a dream drift. Soft, gentle, you know, vibes on there, flute, you know, soft vocals, very jazzy, kind of just a, you know, a spacey, ambient, gentle. Nothing like the first song. So this is my second pick. I will read the lyrics here to 21st Century Schizoid, man, which runs 7 minutes 21 seconds. Fripp, McDonald, Lake, Giles, and Pete Sinfield on here. Cat's foot, iron claw. Neurosurgeons scream for more. At paranoia's poison door. 21st Century Schizoid man. Blood rack, barbed wire. Politician's funeral pyre. Innocents raped with napalm fire. 21st Century Schizoid man. Death seed, blind man's greed. Poets starving, children bleed. Nothing he's got he really needs. 21st Century Schizoid man. And then you have on here song 2, side 1 is I Talk to the Wind. 6 minutes 8 seconds. Fantastic. Then song number 3, Epitaph, including March for No Reason and Tomorrow, 8 minutes 52 seconds. And then on side 2 you have Moonchild, including The Dream and The Illusion, 12 minutes 15 seconds. And then the sort of piece de resistance on side 2, song 2, The Court of the Crimson King, including The Return of the Fire Witch and The Dance of the Puppets. Now this piece here, it gets so soft that you almost can't hear it. You know, I almost couldn't hear it. I had to turn up the volume on the radio. Very quiet. Just incredible. And I love the lyrics of In the Court of the Crimson King. And I'll read them for you here. The rusted chains of prison moons are shattered by the sun. I walk a road, horizons change, the tournament's begun. The purple piper plays his tune, the choir softly sing. 3 lullabies in an ancient tongue for the court of the Crimson King. The keeper of the city keys puts shutters on the dreams. I wait outside the pilgrim's door with insufficient schemes. The Black Queen chants the funeral march. The cracked brass bells will ring to summon back the fire witch to the court of the Crimson King. The gardener plants an evergreen whilst trampling on a flower. I chase the wind of a prism ship to taste the sweet and sour. The patterned juggler lifts his head, the orchestra begin, as slowly turns the grinding wheel in the court of the Crimson King. On soft gray mornings widows cry, the wise men share a joke. I run to grasp divining signs to satisfy the hoax. The yellow jester does not play, but gently pulls the strings and smiles as the puppets dance in the court of the Crimson King. Very interesting lyrics there, aren't they? And then I have the album on, I think this was a reissue. It's got that nice Obi strip. Robert, if you're watching, there's that beautiful, glorious Obi there. Yeah. I'm not sure when this was reissued, but the press is just fantastic. Plays stone cold dead library quiet. I mean, it sounds like a CD. Awesome press here. Yeah, love it, love it. I wanted to read a little bit about the Court of the Crimson King here, and basically, you know, King Crimson in general. This is a really cool book for progressive lovers here. It's a timeline, and all the album releases are in consecutive order of the month and year that they were originally released. And this is written by Charles Snyder, S-N-I-D-E-R, and it's called The Strawberry Bricks Guide to Progressive Rock. And he's got a third edition slated for release in early, I think, spring of 2016. He's been slowly adding to this whole series here of, expanding the book here. Here we got the Crimson, King Crimson there. And this starts out in 1967. That was basically the birth of progressive rock, 67, with kind of a proto-prog, flourishes here and there, not full-blown, starting out with the Beatles. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is the first entry in here, June of 67. Okay. The painfully drenched documentary history of King Crimson informs us their birth on January 13, 1969, at the basement of the Fulham Palace Cafe, London. With the arrival of Ian MacDonald, the trio of Giles, and Fripp had expanded a year earlier. Lyricist Pete Sinfield, MacDonald's songwriting partner, became the band's fifth member. This included the duties of road manager, light artist, resident hippies, etc. Yet at Robert Fripp's persistence, fellow Bournemouth guitarist Greg Lake joined on bass and vocals, replacing Peter Giles. Lake had previously been with The Gods, with Ken Hensley and Lee Kerslake, both later to be in the group Uriah Heep. The recording on their debut was twice abandoned, once with the Moody Blues producer Tony Clark, but a third self-produced effort with E.G. Management's David Enthoven and John Gayden footing the bill, proved more than successful as 21st Century Schizoid Man blasts away. The power of the band is immediately apparent. King Crimson rebounds like nothing before it. Resounds like nothing before it. Undoubtedly propelled by Giles' inventive drumming, the band's interplay is precise, and their sound is simultaneously immense yet with detail. Fripp's screeching guitar solo is positively terrifying. The mellotron figures prominently, dominating both Epitaph and the title track. There was no more accoutrement, rather the band was writing specifically for the instrument. It's an important point. The technology of the era was influential in defining the genre of progressive rock. The album's gentler moments, I Talk to the Wind and Moonchild, showcased MacDonald's ability as a composer and Fripp's grace and considerable jazz influence as a guitarist, especially in the latter's improvised half. Here the band is both mature and meticulous. Throughout the album, King Crimson shows their wares. Listening to the flute solo in the title track, it's obvious that MacDonald's is an accomplished soloist, but that he's showing us he can play, is very central to the progressive aesthetic. There is no hiding his virtuosity or creativity. In fact, he's flaunting it. Even Sinfield's words, quite sympathetic to Lake's voice, rise to new heights. However, the jury may still be out on whether they crack the seam. King Crimson reaches a new level of perfection on what Pete Townsend of The Who called at the time an uncanny masterpiece. The cover art, a harrowing face painted by Barry Godber, would also set the album apart. King Crimson's timely support slot at the Rolling Stones' free concert in London's Hyde Park in July was most fortunate. The album, arguably the first prog rock record, awaited a flurry of interest. It peaked at number 5 in the UK, while in the US it broke into the top 30. Crimson would then end their first year with a 2-month tour of the US. So there you have it, Carm. Hope you enjoyed. Take care, my friend.